Time to continue this deep dive, cannonball style, baby, into Vince McMahon's wacky wrestling world. I'm John Rentham with my real-honest thoughts on the good, the bad, and the Vince Part 2. So, Part 1 ended with me talking about WrestleMania 1 needing to be a smashing success. Bully. Otherwise, well, if he wasn't going to be out of business, he would have been close because he leveraged everything. The celebrities, the sports, the entertainment, the glitz, the glamour, wanting to be the Disney of Hollywood, wanting to take wrestling worldwide to a big pay-per-view audience, even though it was on closed circuit at the time. Pay-per-view would come up a couple years later. Vince McMahon, well, I mean, we wouldn't be here talking, well, I wouldn't be here talking, and you wouldn't be watching me talk about WWE still being around to this very fucking day, because if WrestleMania 1 had failed, yeah, would have certainly been an interesting manscape in wrestling. I think that's how that saying goes. But anyway, yes, other incarnations would continue to make money. Some would make less than others. Them's the breaks. And also about how he tried to tackle Harley Race in a restaurant bathroom to try, God damn it, just come on to the WWF. Just blow off Crockett. Come on, bring the NWA title. Fine, I'll tackle you in a bathroom. Shit, this isn't working. Linda, pick me up. Ow. How'd he do this? I like how my Vince McMahon impression just sounds like Nappa from Dragon Ball Z, but nevertheless. Finished off with that. Now, to talk about other things. From basically, well, 1985, the world tours, the big tours, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit. He was just traveling all over the goddamn country. He was gaining other people. You got Randy Savage. You would get other people in 1985. And even though some people would leave, some people would, cycle in and out, he had a hell of a goddamn roster. He also had David Sammartino, so that the less said about that, the better. He tried. Oh, my God, did he try. But he wasn't able to work out in this institution. But Rita Chatterton, the first female referee, that story came out it was her basically saying, Vince McMahon, I'm not going to recount what she said because it's just vicious, vile stuff, but Vince McMahon basically tried to exert or even insert his dominance as a way to maybe get, because, I'll pay you more money, just do this. Come on, I'm paying a woman to do the referee job. Ha ha ha. And I'm not making light of that. I bet that Vince McMahon basically just tried to laugh it off and everything. Oh, come on. Just do this. Just do this. Do it. Come on. Ow. God, the Vince McMahon impression. I can only imagine how those meetings went, and Rita did not deserve that. No woman, no employee deserves it. What the fuck, Vince? Whew. She wasn't back in the company, obviously, nor would she want to be. The fucking boss was harassing her at the very least, and basically trying to assault her at worst. Fucking goddamn Christ. That whole thing, just Google Rita Chatterton, you will find out more about it. But that fucking bullshit, that should have brought Vince down. You don't fucking do that with people, even though they're independent contractors. You shouldn't fucking do that. Those are people that trust you to utilize them well, take care of them and everything, and nope, you can't do that. Mike McGurk, who was a female ring announcer, yes, a woman named Mike, Leroy McGurk's daughter, she claimed harassment as well. She was a ring announcer, and other women have come out about this stuff. Some have come out to defend Vince. I'll talk more about this in the upcoming embezzlement charges as I'm recording these in a block. And just seeing, hey, what the fuck's going to happen? Is Vince McMahon going to get brought down by embezzlement and paying out money to women because he decided to be dipping his pen in company ink and decided to be a goddamn piece of shit? Like we probably felt that Vince was, and there's more on this, him being a piece of shit a little bit later in this part. But goddamn, the Rita Chatterton stuff, the Mike McGurk stuff, other things as well. It is amazing that Vince McMahon survived this, but who knows? Could have paid hush money. Could have just thought that he was invincible. Invincible, as it were. Man, I see what I did there, at least after the fact. But that, come on. And that story came out in a recent newspaper article where they talked about, hey, this actually happened. This stuff's been going on for a while. Vince McMahon not facing criminal charges for that shit, fucking bullshit. I don't know what money was offered to Rita. It doesn't fucking matter. It's not important for the purposes of this equation. She's not the only one that has said this about Vince. And it's fucking goddamn horseshit. Stuff with Mike McGurk, other women, all that. Not the end of the fucking scandals that we're talking about, but we're going to move on to the business side. Mania 2 in 3 locations, New York, Chicago, and LA. The fact that that Mania even managed to happen is a fucking miracle. Of course, they did have some closed circuit satellite issues, and they had to refund people and then broadcast it in those particular markets on free TV, but it still made a whole lot of money. It's also widely regarded as one of the worst Manias of all time. Seriously, there is not a lot of good shit on Mania 2. But it was bold. Giant screen showed 2/3 of the show to all three markets, New York, Chicago, LA. New York got to see the first thing live, and then the screens were there for the first hour of Chicago and 2 hours of LA. And then Chicago got to see second hour, screens came back down, all that Mania 2 wasn't all that good, but it was a smashing success. And in 1986, he continues to grow. They have the Paul Orndorff, Hulk Hogan, feud, where Paul Orndorff turns Hulk Hogan after after basically being a heel like a year before, but then turning and joining him. And then they had the big show in Toronto Open Air Stadium that was like, I think, 70,000 people. Big fucking deal. And Vince is cultivating this, syndication and all the TV. At this point, the AWA is really starting to fail. I mean, they had Wrestle Rock Rumble. I think that was about it. World Class was definitely faltering by this point because Kerry Von Erich's accident. Even before that, they were having issues. They would get the Dingo Warrior. Yes, the future Ultimate Warrior. By the way, fuck the Ultimate Warrior. I'm glad he's dead. Then, Andre the Giant would need back surgery. He'd be filming The Princess Bride. He'd be doing all this stuff. Vince McMahon, in the meantime, is trying to get him to be in a big match, the biggest match of all time, the biggest match they can sell, the Pontiac Silverdome, to fill that out. 93,173 people. Bullshit. 80,000 is what I'm guessing. I just have a hard time believing 93,000, but whatever. I mean, I don't believe Mania 32's bullshit figure, but nevertheless, he has the match with Hogan. Andre had the back brace, all that stuff and everything. He was beat. Hogan beat him. Hogan was the champion by this point for just over 3 years. And they had that. And even though Mania 3, it flies by, it still holds up to an extent. Some of the matches are a little bit dodgy. But that being said, that blew everything out of the water. Crockett couldn't do that shit. Nobody could do that shit. I mean, New Japan was making a ton of money and drawing big crowds. All Japan was drawing big crowds. But that was over in, unless you were tape trading, you didn't know what was going on in Japan. Now, Mania 3 happens, all that stuff. Meanwhile, in other territories, Bill Watts' UWF, Universal Wrestling Federation, before Herb Abrams came around. He wishes he was Bill Watts. Instead of snoring it up his nose, let's hear it for Herb Abrams, because he died in 1996. Bill Watts' Universal Wrestling Federation got sold to Crockett. They didn't incorporate the guys very well. And speaking of Crockett, they were going head-to-head at times as far as, big shows and everything. Well, it's the big shows. Then, in later 87, absorbing all these territories, they had Florida, I think. They had Kansas City. I'm trying to remember the timeline exactly. But they had all this stuff. So all these other territories are faltering. And Portland's still running, but they're not doing all that much. And there's Continental, there's other smaller territories, but they're not running very well. Yeah, they're drawing crowds, but meager crowds at best, because Vince McMahon, for better or worse, is drawing the big audiences. Because he got the great marketing team together. He got all these people together. He got the right people to understand live event business. Even if they weren't in wrestling, they understood how to get, fucking people in the building. They understood how to get this shit. And while he didn't draw in every single market, he was making bank by this point. Mania 3 was a huge success. But then they head-to-head with Crockett. Starrcade 1987. Starrcade had been a Thanksgiving tradition. 1983, 84, 85 was in 2 locations, I believe. 84 might have been in 2 locations, too. 86, big success. 87, they decide, hey, we need to be in a big media market, so let's take it out of Greensboro, where we've made a whole bunch of money, and we could have simulcasted with Atlanta or somewhere. Maybe done closed circuit in certain theaters or certain areas. Let's put it in Chicago. But the Rosemont Horizon was under lock by Vince. Vince McMahon was able to lock down exclusive deals on various arenas and everything, because he had the cachet, because he was also a vicious businessman. Now, I'm not noggin. If you're a territory or if you're a big company, you can get a lock on exclusive rights for arenas. You fucking do it because you have a guaranteed spot nobody else can run. They're beholden to you, but you also have to produce. And Vince was. So they put it in Chicago in the UIC Pavilion, which was a decent-sized building, but the Greensboro Memorial Coliseum was 17,000 people? Maybe more? UIC Pavilion topped out at 9,000, 10,000 people? Which was a big venue. Until you realize that they just lost out about 6,000 people. They didn't do all that much money. And then Vince McMahon decides, okay, I've done Mania. Mania's established. I did the Wrestling Classic. That wasn't all that great. That was in 1985, November of 85, I believe. Let's create Survivor Series, because I want to fuck with Jim Crockett Promotions. And that's what he did. He was fucking with him. He put Survivor Series on there. And this is the kicker that I don't understand how the cable companies didn't immediately call bullshit. Vince McMahon says, if you carry his pay-per-view, you can't have WrestleMania. They didn't realize that he basically would have been cutting off his nose to spite his face. He would have been getting, taking money out of his own pocket. He would have been crippling himself. But they bought it. They bought into it. They were fucking idiots. So a few pay-per-view companies or providers gave Crockett's pay-per-view the over-the-air stuff, the over-the-air time, San Jose, Carolina, stuff like that. Yeah, San Jose, believe it or not, gave their word. Okay, that's cool. But Vince gave Mania anyway? It's fucking stupid. So, Starrcade 87, in addition to being taken out of Greensboro and being put, they could have put that in Charlotte Memorial Stadium and made a huge amount of money. But nevertheless, they make less. They botched that whole thing. That card actually has some decent matches, some pretty good matches. It also ended with Ronnie Garvin losing to Ric Flair, losing the NWA title, which wasn't well received, to put it mildly. They also didn't put the Road Warriors over with the Tag Team Championships in Chicago. They booked themselves into a corner. So, that's the only time, of course, they went head-to-head, and the Vince McMahon screwed with Crockett. Oh, no. A couple months later, January, Bunkhouse Stampede, Nassau Coliseum. I think it was like 6,000 people there. I'll tell you what Nassau Coliseum holds. More than that. I just retro-reviewed SummerSlam 2002 as of this recording, and they had about 15,000 people there. Now, granted, that was years later, but Bunkhouse Stampede, if we're being perfectly honest, didn't need help being crippled because it's probably the worst Crockett Big Show that was broadcast on major networks. I rewatched it at one point, I think back in January. It wasn't very good. But Pat Patterson came up with the idea when he was violating ring boys. When he was out in San Francisco working for Roy Shire for the Rumble. The Royal Rumble, the Battle Royal. But the 1988 Royal Rumble was just, it was 20 men and it was also on free TV. It also ended with the Islanders beating the Young Stallions. So yeah, the Royal Rumble really got only one way to go, and that was up. Because you got, I love Haku, but if the best you could do is that tag man, whatever. Then again, Vince didn't know what he had at the time. So, then we get to Mania 4. They're going to be in Trump Plaza, and that's another thing. Vince McMahon and Donald Trump being associates, being friends and everything. It doesn't fucking surprise me that Vince is like this. Vince just, you would have thought, would have been smarter since he had more money, and Trump never had the money that he claimed to have. By the way, anybody that still supports Trump, get the fuck off my channel, off my soapbox. Let's get back to this. And again, I'm talking about Vince for good or bad or indifferent. So, Mania 4, it's going to be in Trump Plaza. Not exactly a great venue. If you take a look at that venue, even dressed up, it's a fucking toilet. It's in a part of New Jersey and nobody really wants to go to, from my understanding. I've never actually been to it. But Crockett decides, okay, Mr. Turner, can you help with that? Turner was pissed about losing out on the pay-per-view, money and stuff like that. So he's like, Crockett, go here, do this, do this giant show, Clash of Champions, free TV, head-to-head with WrestleMania. And he gave it. And it fucking worked. Clash of Champions 1 blows WrestleMania 4 out of the water. WrestleMania 4 also went about 2 years. It's not a show that's necessarily going to hold up. But head-to-head, they dinged WrestleMania. They got a big, big rating. And even though they got a pretty good buy rating, WrestleMania 4 was enough of the success that they brought back to Trump Plaza the following year. And Randy Savage was crowned the WWF champion. By the way, Randy Savage, always better than Hulk Hogan. Should have been the champion a lot longer, but no! Terry Bollea had to have his moment in the spotlight and hog Randy Savage's spotlight. And have lust in his eyes for Elizabeth. Ow! So anyway, let's talk about that touring schedule, by the way. So from pretty much the time he took over the company, but especially when he began its expansion, in 84, things were exploding. I mean, things were already exploding when he bought the company. In 83, they were touring all over. But 84, Scott Hogan got a whole bunch of the AWA guys. Ricky Steamboat came there for a few years. He got Roddy Piper. He got so many others. They were touring all over the goddamn place. It was nuts. They wouldn't be home for 15 to 20 fucking days. They'd be flying. They'd be doing a whole bunch of other stuff. No wonder everybody was either drunk, high, both, or likely depressed and suicidal. By the way, if you are depressed and suicidal for any reason, however you feel, help is out there. Help is truly out there. Reach out. Reach out to me. Reach out to other people in your inner circle. Reach out to anybody. Anybody can help. There's always somebody to listen. So they toured all over the goddamn world. And it's no wonder the steroid use was rampant. Painkiller use was running rampant. Not that it was the only territory that had an insane touring schedule. UWF had a goddamn insane touring schedule. Well, Mid-South and then UWF had an insane touring schedule. You might be Mississippi and then all the way up in Oklahoma, New Orleans and all that and all over the place. But at least that was just a few states. Vince, they were flying all over the goddamn place. They were doing all this. They were going to Japan. They were coming back. Hulk Hogan wrestled 400 times in 1 year because of the time difference and everything, because Hulk Hogan's a fucking liar. All this stuff. No wonder everybody just went insane. No wonder so many people from that era for years had either long after effects or didn't live long. I mean, granted, some were unfortunate circumstances. Adrian Adonis in a car crash. Dino Bravo because he was working for the mob. And so many other people. It was a lot of shit going on. And the fact that Vince McMahon didn't just say, yes, they were making a bunch of money, but they could have honestly eased back just a little bit and maybe more people would still be alive and coherent and actually still able to really talk well, because the amount of people that were able to even shoot interviews 10 fucking years ago was depleting. Now, almost non-existent. And it's really fucking sad. Vince McMahon was being a greedy son of a bitch. Sure, he was running a multimedia empire. But goddamn, he just used people up like cattle. They were basically being sent out to slaughter sometime. No wonder they were just going through the motions during a lot of house show matches, because what the fuck? There were people that tried hard. And there were good matches in WWF on occasion. But Vince's touring schedule and his vision and everything just drove everybody crazy. It's amazing that anybody could fucking, survive that goddamn stuff. Some people didn't, unfortunately. And then he did the sports entertainment label thing. We're sports entertainment. We're not, wrestling's a work. It's all this and everything, scripts, all that, to avoid the state athletic commission, stronghold and everything in some states. Sure, some state taxes, but especially the state athletic commission. Avoid the testing because people were on roids and other copious amounts of drugs. Turner buys WCW in late 88. I'm in the wrestling business, Vince. Well, I'm in the entertainment business. Ha ha ha. So, Mania 5 in 1989, back at Trump Plaza. That was a success. That one was more on pay-per-view. I think Mania 4 was on pay-per-view and closed circuit. This one was on full-fledged pay-per-view. I might be mixing that up a little bit, but I know by Mania 5 they were on pay-per-view. And they were doing some great stuff. And then, the Ring Boy scandal. The fucking Ring Boy scandal. Terry Garvin, who his wife didn't even know that he was gay. Nothing wrong with being gay. You be LGBTQ, I don't care. Be who you are. Be with people that consent, and also be with people of age. Don't harass people. Don't sexually assault people. Don't sexually harass people. Don't do any of that shit. Terry Garvin did. I don't know if Terry Garvin died soon after. I hope Terry Garvin is dead, and I hope that karma bit him in the fucking ass, even if he might have liked it. And yeah, I'm going to take a little bit of a shot there, because apparently Terry got his kicks on, Root Fisty Fist, because he would just continue to harass and do a whole bunch of other stuff. And Barry O, I believe, was one that did interviews and talked about how he wanted him to polish his knob. And there's Pat Patterson. I'm going to get into the other one here in a little bit, but I just want to say about Pat Patterson. I don't care if Pat Patterson was gay. I don't. Don't give a shit. You can believe that Pat Patterson had nothing to do with this, but I want you to look up a video on YouTube. Because where the fuck else would you be watching it? Should have just said on here. Roddy Piper, Pat Patterson. Yeah, you might find some Legends House stuff. If you do Roddy Piper, Pat Patterson shoot interview, it's a 90-second clip, and he said Pat Patterson didn't like him very much. Yes, they were on Legends House and stuff like that, but that was also reality TV, and it was years and years later, and maybe Piper felt like he needed to just be there with his abuser, because the way he talks about Patterson abused him. And that wasn't the only one that he abused. So Pat Patterson deserved to rot in hell for what he did, and it's a shame that he lived as long as he did. I know that Piper is not perfect. He admitted he wasn't perfect. He had no reason to lie there. Had no fucking reason to lie. Just when asked about, he wouldn't look at the camera. He was looking off. By not answering that, he answered it. Pat Patterson fucking abused him. And I'm sure abused others. And Piper didn't deserve that. Nobody fucking deserves that. And the fact that Patterson was shielded by Vince McMahon just because he was a great finish guy. Proof that Vince by no means perfect. The fact that he would do that kind of shit. That he would make it to where, certain people in his inner circle would be protected no matter what. Oh, Pat Patterson got released. Released. It's on the Phil Donahue show, by the way, if you wanted to. Phil Donahue, Ring Boy scandal, I think is what it might have been like. This one guy is on there, was talking about being harassed and, hit on by Pat Patterson and others, by Terry Garvin, I believe. And Pat Patterson deserves every bit of fucking ridicule that he got. And the fact that he skated by some of that just because he was respected as a finish guy is fucking bullshit. But, and I had to talk to a friend of mine about this because I remember there was somebody else. I remember there was a black ring announcer, but I didn't remember his name. Mel Phillips. I don't care what his race is. He could be from a goddamn other universe. Mel Phillips. There was a clip, a 30-second clip about Sid Vicious, Sid Udy, Psycho Sid, whatever you want to call him. Sid Udy, I believe is his name. And he was on a tour, and Mel Phillips was brought back, by the way, by Linda McMahon. So Linda McMahon is just as fucking complicit, that goddamn stupid twat. I'm glad she lost millions upon millions upon millions running for Senate twice. Goddamn lazy-eyed bitch. You fucking deserve it. You fucking deserve to be ridiculed for being part of Trump's goddamn cabinet and everything, you stupid twat. Brought Mel Phillips back. But Sid Vicious said, they were on a tour. They were on a tour of Europe. Why are all these boys here? Oh, they're, Mel Phillips is going to, took them to the show, and then they're going to go back in his hotel room, and he's going to play with their feet. Why? Why would you bring somebody like that? Why? I'm not saying Sid. Vince. Why? You fucking knew about it, Vince, and you didn't want to admit it. Oh, let's blow it off. Okay, it's just boys being boys, pal. Fucking horseshit. Mel Phillips, assuming he isn't dead, he should be. He should have been ridiculed and, quite frankly, just, harassed verbally and physically by people that he abused to the point where maybe he just fell off the goddamn earth. Fucking, goddamn, and Linda bringing him back. Oh, but just stay away. An actual quote. Don't go near young boys. You can't cure somebody of that shit. I don't care if you're a guy and the guys, girl and the girls, or woman and other women, women and the men, men and the women. If they're of legal age and there's consent, sure. Whatever, there's age differences, that kind of stuff. If they're of legal age and there was no grooming involved, like there is a certain couple that is going on currently today, outside of WWE, by the way. Certain octopus and a certain Grace. That's much I'll say. Horrible accusations. Probably going to get accused badly of, trying to, ruffle people's feathers there. But there's no grooming or none of this kind of stuff or whatever. And people just happen to like each other. And there's an age difference, but they're of legal age. Okay, sure, it's creepy. But there really isn't anything that can be done. What Mel Phillips did, what Pat Patterson did, what Terry Garvin did is fucking bullshit. And all three of them deserve to rot in hell. Pat Patterson thankfully is. Because he fucking deserved it. In addition to all that stuff, check out that Phil Donahue piece, by the way. Because Phil Mushnick talked about, Phil Mushnick, the nephew of Sam Mushnick, talked about, or did a New York Post thing, and Linda was quoted saying, "Stay away from young boys." Vince knew all about it. He brought back Snuka in 1989. Brought back fucking Snuka in 1989. After he murdered Nancy Argentino. That's okay. You paid off the police chief, Vince. Karma's biting you in the goddamn ass now, isn't it? And there's other stuff in 1990, I'm sure. 91, of course. There was Mania 7 with the security concerns. That's why they moved it out of the LA Memorial Coliseum. It's because they didn't sell a lot of tickets. They might have sold 30,000 if they were lucky. Well, I'll tell you what the LA Memorial Coliseum holds. Just over 3 times that. About 100,000. Yay! Vince McMahon just wasn't having the drawing power because they didn't want to have the Gulf War exploited right there. They wouldn't have Desert Storm exploited. Amazing how people are like that. Also, even though Slaughter is a tremendous heel, I don't think anybody wanted to boo him at that point. But nevertheless, the steroid trial. I'll say now about the steroid trial. Vince McMahon did not supply steroids to any of the wrestlers. He may have encouraged them, but did he supply them? No. Did he look the other way while they were being used? Sure. WCW was looking the other way with a whole bunch of stuff. Fucking look at some of the people that were there. My goodness. But he ignored the usage and the overusage and all that stuff and everything and just basically treated people like fucking cattle. And then the whole thing with SummerSlam 1991. Dealing with the Ultimate Warrior. Mania 7, by the way, went off without a goddamn hitch. Dealing with the Ultimate Warrior. And, you have become a legend in your own mind. Fuck the Ultimate Warrior. I'm glad he's dead, by the way. And then, I'll just say this right now. The Jerry Lawler stuff in Survivor Series in 1993, or heading into Survivor Series in 1993, people say that, he was found not guilty or the girls made it up. You realize Lawler had more money than them and also always liked young women and always did that stuff. And if that's just one that we know about, whether true or not, you don't think there are others. You don't fucking think there are others. Jerry Lawler's as much of a goddamn predator as most people, that skate on it in wrestling. That's fucking bullshit. He brought him back. Now, if he was found not guilty and the girls actually did make it up, fine. Fine. I don't actually know. I tend to believe that the girls actually, I tend to believe the victims. People do make stuff up, which makes it harder for real victims. But something about the way Lawler always liked young women and still likes young women and everything and how creepy he was. I just have a hint. I just have an idea there was a hint of truth in that, aka a lot of truth. And maybe he wasn't guilty of that one, but I guarantee you he was fucking guilty of others. But Vince McMahon brought him back because he was entertaining. He also had a deal with Jerry Jarrett. Because Jerry Jarrett was going to take over the company when Vince McMahon went to jail during the steroid trial because they were bound determined to get him on something. They didn't get him on anything because Jerry McDevitt is a pretty goddamn great attorney. But nevertheless. So, we're going to finish up with 1992. 1992 was a seismic shift for the steroid trial. They were testing everybody. And everybody was noticeably smaller, like Ultimate Warrior coming back after his hiatus. Not being a legend in his own mind and not being any fucking good in the goddamn ring. He never fucking was unless he was carried, like the sack of muscle-bound shit he is, or was. Everyone was being tested, so everybody's noticeably smaller. Then he starts the World Bodybuilding Federation, gives them huge contracts. That's a fucking goddamn atrocity. The World Bodybuilding Federation had pay-per-views. While wrestlers were struggling, they were getting money, but they weren't getting as much as these bodybuilders. Who went to see bodybuilders that were not on steroids? Who says the bodybuilders weren't on steroids? Because they weren't under the WWF banner, so hell, maybe they were on steroids. All I'm going to say is any footage of the World Bodybuilding Federation that I've seen is fucking goddamn atrocious. What the actual shit was fucking going on? But 92, Hogan was leaving. He would come back the following year, and I'll talk about that in part 3. And all that stuff. All this fucking shit was going on. All the scandals, all this crap. And Vince McMahon continued to look the other way. And now we get into part 3, starting in 1993. Possibly in a little bit more in 92 and then in 93. And more! Part 3 will be recorded at some point. Anyway, agree, disagree with what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.